the work. These final 3 indicators articulate the core work of the leadership team. We'll review them briefly here and then go into each one in greater detail throughout this part. The leadership team serves as a conduit of communication to the faculty and staff. The leadership team shares in decisions of real substance pertaining to curriculum, instruction, and professional development. The school's leadership team regularly looks at school performance data and aggregated classroom observation data and uses that data to make decisions about school improvement and professional development needs. The leadership team reviews the principal's summary reports of classroom observations and takes them into account in planning professional development. Because the leadership team is comprised of teachers who lead the instructional teams, there is a built-in flow of information between leadership and teachers. But what about the other members of the school community who don't participate in instructional teaming? Students, parents, other staff. How do they receive the information? In an ideal environment, there is close communication between the leadership team and the school community council, which is addressed in our school community course. In this case, teams routinely share agendas and meeting outcomes, minutes, and agreements. Many schools also distribute monthly newsletters, either in print or electronically, that communicate topics of interest and decisions affecting the school community. Let's listen as a leadership team member shares the logistics of how her team maintains open communication flow.
But with this being the largest functioning team, I'll say it like that, we get information out more than any other team. So, I mean, there's no other way to do it. We make sure we get all avenues covered. And there's a parent on each team, so the information goes to the parents and the community the exact same way. So what I outlined in our meeting earlier was the way that we communicate not only in this team, but every other team in the building. Leadership team itself has full representation of teachers, staff, parents. So we're good with that because I'm sure that Ms. Young actually communicates to the parents through PTO. Ms. Edwards actually takes the notes. She forwards them to Ms. Mattox, who actually gets them out to all of the teachers via email. And if they need backup, they can use Ms. Sims' notes. So we are communicating to the faculty and staff as well as parents. Everyone knows everything that's going on. You don't have many questions. You might have some information that someone doesn't understand, but everyone in this building needs to know what the leadership team is doing. And that way, when you're asked to do something, you can reference something that you read before or it's accessing your prior knowledge. So the benefits are simply everyone's informed.
With this kind of open communication, everyone is informed, wouldn't you agree? Let's listen to how and why a high school leadership team serves as a conduit of communication to their faculty and staff.
We have what's called prime time, which we have once a week. It's on Thursdays from 8 to 9 a.m. The students don't arrive until 9, so for that hour we have an opportunity to meet both as a staff and then also in department meetings. So obviously first we will take what we have to our departments, and so we can share it with our departments. There have also been times during prime time where we have an opportunity to share with the entire staff, tell them what the school improvement team has done, what we did in our meetings, what we're working on, and what we're trying to accomplish with it. It's always difficult to try to reach, we're talking about 60 staff members, it's always difficult to try to, one, get your message out, heard correctly, and of course address any concerns or questions that come up. But communication and transparency has always been one of the cornerstones to this program, because just because there are 6 of us on the school improvement team, we get input from everyone, we get feedback from everyone, and we try to apply that feedback and make sure that everyone's voice is heard in helping shape our school.
Various times we will have roundtable meetings where we will break the teachers into small groups, not necessarily by department, but a mixed combination of the different departments, and each one of us, sometimes with an administrator, sometimes without, will lead a roundtable discussion to talk with the teachers about, here's what we've been doing, here's what we've been working on, these are some of our ideas, what do you think about that? We gather that information from the teachers and then share it with Mr. Bowles, and then once we have our next leadership team meeting, We discuss what the feedback was from all the departments to see what similar comments they had, that the groups had, what different comments, some maybe new ideas were brought up that we hadn't thought of. Because I feel that gives the other teachers who perhaps are not on the leadership team, gives them the opportunity to have input to the process and feel like their opinion is valued, and then it's not a top-down approach, this is what we're going to do whether you like it or not, that they have some say in the process.
Another thing I think the leadership team has done a very nice job is listening to our teachers. You know, what are your concerns? What are your suggestions? And we've incorporated that into agenda topics, into school improvement ideas, because I think one thing that teachers, they don't mind doing the extra work if they see the end result, and also if they see ownership in it. So we've tried to incorporate those two aspects into it as well.
One thing is for sure, how the decision is communicated is just as, if not more, important than the decision itself. People may not always agree with the decision, but they are more likely to accept it if they understand how it was made and why. Think about how decisions are communicated in your school. What works? What doesn't? Is this an area that can be improved? We've addressed that regular, consistent communication is critical, but what exactly does the leadership team communicate about? Teaching and learning, of course, our next indicator. The leadership team shares in decisions of real substance pertaining to curriculum, instruction, and professional development. As we saw in Part 1, the principal is very involved in the work of curriculum and instruction, maintaining high visibility in classrooms and throughout the school. Imagine then the productive and in-depth conversations about teaching and learning that occur among members of the leadership team, all with very different perspectives and insight on what the needs are and how best to meet them. Notice the words, decisions of real substance, in the above indicator. In Part 1, we learned about the role of the principal as capacity builder. A leadership team is the ideal forum for this to unfold. A principal gets to the nitty-gritty of the real substance decision-making in her school. Let's take a look at a leadership team fully engaged in a discussion about teaching and learning.
Really, the English department and the math department have just been working tirelessly as a group to try to address those. So what we would like to do is to let everyone on the leadership team know some of the activities that have been taking place. Let's start with English. Mrs. Crakey and the English department.
What we decided to do is initially as a department, we tried out some strategies as far as reading strategies and assessment strategies, and then we formed a literacy team which represented other departments in the high school, and we put those strategies together and then presented those in a half-day workshop to the entire student, or to the entire faculty. Once we got together and I showed them some of the strategies that were used, each of those teachers then practiced those strategies, and then from there we were able to demonstrate to the entire school or the entire faculty.
Underline what you think is the main point of the article. Let me go back through and talk about, get some people to volunteer. What word did you not understand? And they say it, and some kids know it, some kids don't.
We call it highlighting your confusion.
Right, okay.
Similar to
Yeah,
what we do. Highlight your confusion.
I stole it, from a thing, I don't know what it was called, but I was apprehensive when we started because I was like, they're not going to, first of all, they're not going to read the article, but, and then they're not going to volunteer what they don't know. They're not going to say, I don't know this. They don't want to do that in front of their peers, but they did, and we talked about some words they don't know, and there were words that were important for them to know, to understand the article, even more so than maybe their vocab terms were. Right.
Wow, that was a leadership team fully engaged in a discussion about teaching and learning, wasn't it? They have successfully implemented instructional strategies gleaned from their leadership team's in-depth and productive conversations that have proven to increase student learning.